Good morning and welcome to episode 14 of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. Wow, 14. Seems like we just started, but time is flying, no doubt. Speaking of time flying, I'm feeling fall in the air. I'm wondering if you all are. This time of year is kind of special. I mean, I can smell the green chili roasting. No joke. Step outside and smells so good. This is my favorite time of year. Crisp fall air. There's moisture in the late evenings and early mornings typically. Just smells so good. Trees are starting to change. Wow. Like I said, my favorite time of year. The official first day of fall is day after tomorrow, Monday, September 22nd. So, you know what? I didn't figure the math, but Thanksgiving and Christmas are right around the corner. It seems like, to me anyway, as soon as Halloween hits, it's just that quick, and we got Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then we're celebrating the new year. And I don't know if you all are like me, but I am finally just getting used to writing 2025. So I'm a little behind, about almost 10 months. But yeah, trees are changing a little bit. Speaking of trees changing, I was in Michigan visiting my three kids, and we had a cousins reunion. So mainly first cousins, but we had some seconds there, like my kids and my cousins' children. And we had a great time. That was over Labor Day. We had tickets, my wife and I, to the Michigan-New Mexico football game, which was kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. I've followed the New Mexico Lobos since I was probably 10 years old. And I won't tell you how old I am, but that was 50 years ago. And, you know, for a game of that magnitude, you know, being able to play in Wolverine Stadium, you know, it was pretty spectacular. So we had tickets, but unfortunately we got stuck in Dallas. We had some bad weather in Dallas, and they grounded all flights landing and all flights taking off. I think they call it a ground stop. And unfortunately, we didn't make the game because we were flying out on a Saturday. It was an evening game, but we were able to reach out to my daughter and her fiance, and we transferred the tickets to them, so they were able to make the game. They had tickets to the game, and they had parking tickets, and it really made for a nice evening for them. And then to top it off, it was a great game. New Mexico gave Michigan everything they wanted and then some. And the Michigan coach spoke highly of New Mexico and really was shocked that a team coming in as a 36.5-point underdog was able to only lose by 17 and almost scored in the last 4 seconds. They let time. Unfortunately, they were on the 3-yard line, and there was 4 seconds left. They didn't have any timeouts left. Snapped the ball, and the quarterback got sacked. But it was a good time. And since then, New Mexico's beaten UCLA at UCLA, and that may not mean as much as it used to because UCLA's now 0-3, and it just, I guess that was the being beaten by New Mexico, who was I think a 2-touchdown underdog, and really it wasn't much of a game. New Mexico ran all over them. Literally, they couldn't stop the run. Michigan couldn't, and their coach was fired like within a week. I feel bad for him, but that's the way it is in competitive college Division I football. We did make it to a baseball game on Labor Day. We got to see the Tigers play the Mets in Comerica Park. We had 43 seats. That was all my cousins, and had a couple brothers there, my brothers, and so that was nice. I wanted to mention what made me think about Michigan in this trip we took is their trees are beginning to change. They were, that was 3 weeks ago, and they're already just stunning. And They actually they experience four seasons there where we don't. I mean, maybe on a really good year we can get a taste of that, but on a regular basis, up in Michigan anyway, and that's where all my three kids live now. They get to experience all four seasons, and this is a beautiful time of year there as well. And I should have mentioned this last week when we were talking about kitchen appliances, but my daughter recently and her fiance recently got a new refrigerator, and it is a Samsung. I think it's part of the Chef's collection. It had some cool features on it, though. It's got a flash freezer. I think they call that a chef's tray. And there's a seltzer dispenser, which seems pretty cool. And just stainless steel, 4 doors. It was so complicated that I don't think I could operate it, but it was pretty slick, and she's proud of it. And I was able to see some of my daughter's fiance's handiwork. He's a carpenter. He's a framer, and he does some finish carpentry as well. But he built a handrail around their backyard deck, and it was handy. And I keep telling him his neighbor's going to be reaching out to him soon. He said, "Well, I don't have time for that," But I said, "But he's still going to reach out to you and ask if you can do one for him." And I did tell him, and this is a good word of advice for most. So that took him. He has the skills, but I think for a do-it-yourselfer, you could do this as well. Now it might take you 2 to 3 weekends, where he was able to do it in one weekend for the most part. I think he waited, and it was the next weekend before he could put any wood treatment on it, like Thompson Water Seal, whatever he used. I can't recall. But I mentioned to him that every penny he puts into that house, he'll get back when it's time to, upgrade, get a bigger house when they start having children, or whatever the case may be, whatever their careers take them. They'll be able to get that and then some back. So real estate is still a good investment. You have to be smart, do your homework. But one thing they lack is a fireplace. And he's handy enough that I think he could add a fireplace. And in thinking about the way their living room is laid out, I think there's an opportunity on at least one side to add a fireplace. But so that's a great segue to our show today and what we're going to talk about. And we're 8 minutes and 24 seconds in, so I need to get after it. What we're going to talk about is fireplace efficiency, and really what brought this on was a question we got from one of our listeners. And it goes like this: "Hey, Energy Guys, I was wondering what kind of maintenance I should do on my wood-burning fireplace. Wood is expensive, so I want to get the most for my money. My wife and I really enjoy the fire, but we realize it's not the most energy efficient way to heat. Any suggestions?" Great question. So I came up with a few that I thought right off the top of my head that would be helpful to them. And I'm going to read my answer back to them. But then I thought, maybe I delve into this a little more and do some research on pros and cons of wood burning fireplaces, or fireplaces in general. There are different fuels. There's electric, there is gas, there's pellet stove, and there is wood burning stove or conventional fireplace. So there's a number of different ways. Some are more efficient than others. Obviously, I think a wood burning stove or pellet stove is probably the most efficient, because they can be pretty well airtight, and they've got a lot of cast metal iron that can retain heat, and some of them have blowers on them, quiet blower motors, and those can really be helpful. So yeah, that was a great question. And again, now that the crisp fall days are upon us, it's a good time to check your fireplace for safety and efficiency. And really, even if you're using an energy inefficient, wood fireplace, you can minimize heat loss it causes by taking just a few precautions. Number one, close the fireplace damper until you are ready to burn a fire. Open it only when the fire is burning, and close it again once you have put the fire out or it is burned out. An open damper in an unused fireplace sucks heated air out of your house and sends it out through the chimney. Prevent air from your room from going up the chimney by installing tempered glass doors on the front of the fireplace. You can also direct heat that the fire produces into your room by installing a heat air exchange to blow the warm air into the house. And there's this cool little gadget that I've seen. This is in addition to what I had answered, but I've got to thinking about this. I've seen them set on fireplaces, and it's just a fan with no motor or anything. And as the heat rises, I'm not sure it's the heat waves or whatever starts to turn this little fan, and it will eventually, and it doesn't make any noise at all. It's completely quiet. Will send that air, push it out a little further into the room. I don't know what those are called, and I didn't take time to look them up. Reinforce seals around your fireplace flue damper. Tight seals prevent heated air from escaping through the fireplace and chimney. Cerakote is a byproduct exhaust from the fire. This stuff can be dangerous. The buildup can make your fireplace less efficient and create a hazard for an unattended fire in the chimney. So this is when I would, you need to probably call a chimney sweep. I'd say at least once every 2 to 3 years. But you want to make sure that they're certified by the Chimney Safety Institute of America to clean your fireplace and chimney every 2 to 3 years. So some may say more often than that, but I think that's probably good. The chimney sweep can advise you also about safety issues and malfunctioning parts. If you don't use your fireplace, have a chimney expert plug and seal it so it won't rob your home of its comfortable heated air. And then we're talking about from an HVAC system or something like that. So I wanted to talk a little more about pros and cons. Using a fireplace or heat offers, this is a pro as far as I'm concerned, ambiance and energy independence. But they come with significant drawbacks, including inefficiency, high maintenance, potential safety and air quality hazards. The balance of pros and cons depends heavily on the type of fireplace. And I mentioned this earlier. You may have wood burning, gas or electric or pellet, or wood burning stove. General pros of using a fireplace: ambiance and atmosphere. A crackling fire creates a cozy, romantic, and relaxing focal point for a room that no other heating system can replicate. True. The electric ones, I work for an electric company, but I'm not a big proponent of electric fireplaces. They're nice, and they've come a long ways. Don't get me wrong. But gas fireplaces are really nice, and they've come a long ways. But you can spot an electric one a mile away, even the best ones. And they do have built-in heaters, and they do have blowers on them. And so they're basically a big space heater. And so they probably operate at about 1,500 watts. So they could add significant usage to your monthly electric bill. So keep an eye on those. You can actually turn them on without heat. So you don't have to use them as a space heater or a zone heater. You can use them just for the ambiance, and it's pretty good, no doubt. Gas is really good. I mean, you have to look real hard to tell the difference between gas. Eventually after an hour or so staring at it, you decide the wood's not going anywhere. It hadn't changed a bit, but it's hard to beat real wood burning fireplace or wood burning stove. We have a fireplace. It's double-sided in our home. we've added that. So it's in the den, and it's in the den was an add-on. So it was part of the den was the exterior wall. So the chimney was there. And we just cut into the chimney and put in a zero clearance, double-sided, see-through fireplace box. And it has been awesome. So it faces into the den and into the living room, the same fire. So you get kind of more bang for your buck, I guess. Another pro is energy independence during power outages. A wood burning or gas fireplace can provide heat and light, a little bit of light, obviously, during an electrical grid failure, offering peace of mind in storms. And it helps. Now, if it was a long storm and it was very cold, you still have to consider and worry a bit about pipes freezing and things like that. But if it's a short outage, they definitely can cut the chill, take a little chill off, and if the family can gather around them and be able to enjoy an evening in front of the fireplace, and maybe even story time and get some real positive time with your children. You know, sometimes things like power outages can, if you want to look for a silver lining, it's a time when families can get a little closer and come together and in a common crisis, I guess. A secondary heat source, using a fireplace for zone heating, I mentioned that a little bit ago, warming only the room you're in, can allow you to turn down your central thermostat and potentially lower your energy bills. And that's what we do. 17 after, we're going to keep going though. But that's what we do at home. And, I enjoy, and my wife enjoys sleeping in a cooler room. We've got a quilt, a comforter, or a wool blanket if we needed it. But it's always nice to, dive into the bed, and it's kind of cool. And, if you like your significant other, it's cuddle time. So, yeah, pretty good deal. Increased home value for many buyers, and this is why I mentioned this earlier about my future son-in-law. And by the way, they're getting married. We're only about a month out, and that's going to be a thrilling time for my family. But a fireplace is a desirable feature that can increase the home's appeal and resale value. I don't think it hurts the value. Not like a swimming pool. I think a swimming pool, if you have a swimming pool, it may cut your potential buyers in half. And, that's a bummer. But a fireplace, I don't think anybody's going to say, oh, man, it's got a fireplace. I don't want anything to do with that. It's too much maintenance or whatever. No. I think they'll go, wow, it's got a fireplace. That's going to be great. I can't wait for that ambiance. I can't wait to use it to cut the chill. I can't wait to use it for zonal heating. So again, if you don't have a fireplace, perhaps you can add it. My brother did that on his current home. He built a home, and he didn't have a fireplace at first, but about two years in, he thought, I always wanted a fireplace. I don't know why I designed it without one, and I'm going to add one. And he found a wall that was would potentially work, drew up some plans, and by the next fall was working on it. And that winter, he's burning fires and hadn't stopped since. I think that was probably 15 years ago, and he's loved it. So let's go on to cons. Why are fireplaces not such a good idea? Well, they're inefficient. They are the most inefficient source of heat. They're about 70% efficient, which means, or 70% inefficient, 30% efficient, which means about 70% of the heat goes right up the chimney. and out into the air. And that's not going to heat anything but the atmosphere. It's just wasted heat. So traditional wood burning fireplaces are one of the least efficient heating sources. Much of the heat is lost up the chimney, which I just mentioned, and the draft can pull warm air from other rooms, potentially making your furnace work harder. That's something to think about. Of course, I turn my heater down. And what's the recommendation from Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy? Is to set your thermostat at 68 degrees. And that's not me. I mean, it's become me. But that came from the National Food and Energy Council and the Department of Energy. Both suggest 68 degrees as a winter thermostat setting. I don't know if you guys realize this, but we were recently awarded, Morning Buzz with Energy Guy, awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. We're the only podcast that's received that. I'm really joking about that, just to be clear. But it sounds good. Safety hazards. Open flames, sparks, and hot surfaces pose a risk of burns and accidental fires if not properly monitored. Carbon monoxide is a danger. Build up in the chimneys from creosote. Couldn't think of the word. From burning wood can cause a chimney fire. And that's why you need to call in that chimney sweep. Or you can do it yourself. And I'm going to give one of our local businesses a plug. I know I have seen a chimney sweep kit in the Big R at North Plains Mall here in Clovis. Big R, a rural store, has a chimney sweep kit. So if you don't want to call a chimney sweep, I think I would likely call one before I do the work myself, just because I don't think it's going to break anybody, and it's important to do it right. But, there's probably a number of YouTube videos out there you can watch and that can teach you how to properly sweep your chimney. Air quality issues. Burning wood releases particulate matter and other pollutants into the air. This can worsen indoor air quality, irritate asthma and other respiratory conditions, and contribute to outdoor air pollution. Yeah, so, what you don't want to do, and this is a few shows back, probably 3 or 4 shows back, I was really plugging the whole home fan. You don't want to run those while you're burning a fire, even on low. You don't want to run those if you've got ashes in your fireplace in the summertime. You want to make sure those are all clean and your glass doors are shut if you have those. Or on a wood-burning stove, you want to make sure that door is shut and locked, because they will suck the ash right out of there's so much volume that'll suck that ash right out of your fireplace if you're not careful, particularly if your damper's open. So that's why we say when you're not burning a fire, shut the damper. And you'll know when you start a fire if the damper is closed or not, because, the smoke coming into your room is a dead giveaway. So air quality issues can be an issue. 24 minutes into the show. We're not going to have enough time today for this day in history, but we'll pick that up next show, I promise you. But let's get on. We've got a couple more items on cons, and unfortunately the cons do outweigh the pros. But I can tell you this, as a homeowner with a fireplace, I love it. High maintenance, depending on the type, fireplace can require regular cleaning, removing ash that I just talked about, chimney inspections from a chimney sweep, and maintenance. If you burn wood, you also need a source and a place to store a supply of firewood. And you'll have to buy firewood unless you've got a bunch of dead wood on your property, or you find somebody that is willing to give it to you if you cut it down, or whatever. Typically, I buy my firewood, and we've got house in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and I've gone up there, and it seems like the price is a little better there. Not a lot, but somewhat. And it's, supply and demand kind of. I mean, there's a lot of supply up there. There's quite a bit of demand, but the supply outweighs the demand typically, so it gets really competitive up there in firewood sales in the Las Vegas, New Mexico area. So I'll just pull a trailer up there sometimes, spend a weekend at my house, go out to eat at Charlie's Spick and Span, and sit on the porch and listen to the multitude of churches on Sunday morning with their bell toll call to Mass, which is particularly this time of year in the fall. I'm going back to that. Little crisp air, hearing those bells. It takes you places in your mind, and they're good. Last con is poor heat distribution. Fireplaces only produce radiant heat in the immediate area, what we call zonal heat. They do not effectively distribute warmth throughout the entire house like a central heating and air system does, leaving other rooms cold. But again, during the wintertime, my wife's at home and she will burn her fireplace almost every day. And she'll text me and say, hurry up and come home when you get off. And we got a fire. I've got a fire built. And man, I love to see that text come in. And my dog loves the fireplace. She's Scout is her name. She's an awesome dog. And I've probably said this before, but we had pets growing up when our kids were growing up. I did growing up. And then while our kids were growing up, we went through in their lifetime, while they were at home, probably a couple of different dogs. And because of their limited life expectancy. And, we loved our dogs, or I loved our dogs, but I was focused on our children. Now that we're empty nesters, I don't have that same focus on my children. And I've looked around for a substitute, and guess what? We didn't buy Scout. It was given to us. It was a gift. And I tell somebody that I would have paid a lot of money if I knew how good Scout was going to be. And I won't tell you the amount I came up with, but it was probably exaggerated. But she's easy to love. But I ask her every day, why do you like a couple of old people? And she just stares at me and turns her head with her ears perked. She's sweet. But yeah, I think we've about beat this one to death. It's up to you. Do your own research. You've heard what I have to say about it. I'm a little biased because I love a fireplace. At our house in Las Vegas, we have a wood-burning stove, and it's awesome as well. And, for those, I used to not really look forward to winter. I get chilled to the bone, and my dad said that once, and I was like, what do you mean, Dad? What does that mean, chilled to the bone? He goes, you get so cold, you don't warm up. And I said, really? That's a thing? He goes, absolutely, that's a thing. And since he's passed and I've gotten older, I've been chilled to the bone, and now I understand. So I didn't necessarily look forward to winter, but now that we have this fireplace, and we had a fireplace at our last house, but for one reason or another, we didn't utilize it as much, probably because I was raising kids. We were too busy with them going to here or there, sporting events, school-related things. And but now it's kind of like Scout. I can focus on the fireplace, and man, it is nice to come home and sit in a living room that's been heated up by a real wood-burning fireplace. Folks, that's it for Morning Buzz with the Energy Guys. We will see you next week for episode 15. See you then.